All even live. I got my cowboy hat on today. You know why? You know why I got the cowboy hat on today. You know why I got the cowboy hat on today. Welcome. Welcome all. Cowboys Nation. Welcome all. What's up, y'all? Guido. Oh, he's on time. Hello, sir. Chiming in. We're going to wait.
You look foolish.
What's up, man?
You look foolish.
What's up, man? Huh? You see what I got on today? This is my Cowboys attire. All right? All Even Live, episode 8. Mike Guido. What's up, man?
What's going on? You look
Tell
foolish.
me. You tell me what's going on.
Why? You think I'm going to come on here and bash Dak?
No. Listen, we had a great NFL Sunday. Week 2 was good. We had a lot of good stuff that went on in week 2. A lot of injuries. Highs and lows. I want you to start. What was your takeaway from week 2 NFL Sunday? Go.
That the Patriots seem to be doing just fine without Tom Brady.
Oh, my God. How good does Cam Newton look?
Cam looks good. Cam looks good. And listen, I've been, you know this, I've been pretty heavily critical of Cam lately just because he doesn't really fit what today's NFL is all about, right? He doesn't, his play style doesn't really fit anymore. It's not, people have kind of figured out the pure mobile quarterback. And people are going to say, oh, but what about like Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson can complete 66% of his throws. That's why he works, right? Cam Newton, for the longest time, he's played in the NFL for before this season, he played in the NFL for 9 years and only had a completion percentage over 60% 3 times. Yeah. So I'm like, he just wasn't an accurate thrower of the football.
He's never been an accurate passer, ever.
So but look at him this year. This is the thing. This is like when people were saying, oh, they're going to have Cam, but this offense is going to be too different. It's not going to, work right away. The weapons aren't going to be there. And all of that stuff. I'm like, listen, none of that is going to matter, right? Like, I've known the Patriots too long and I guess this is the cliche way to say it, but I've known them for too long to go against them at this point, right?
Yeah.
I know for a fact that New England is going to be serious this year. I don't know how serious their Super Bowl expectations are, but I do think that they could make a deep playoff run with this. Again, that's my takeaway is, the Patriots look like they are doing just fine with the quarterback that nobody wanted at the beginning of the year.
Nobody
wanted him. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they don't look horrible, but they certainly don't look like they're blowing anybody out offensively like everybody expected.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
That's my takeaway.
The one thing that I took away from that game is the fact that, yes, Cam Newton looks good, but the other thing that I like to see was the fact that Julian Edelman looks really good. He's actually healthy, and I think because of his age, because of all the injury issues he had last year, we kind of forgot how good this guy actually is. And we saw that on display on Sunday. He was phenomenal. He's a tough receiver. He likes to go across the middle. He doesn't shy away from contact.
That's his game.
Yeah, that's his game. This is a guy that I was like, man, if he can stay healthy all year, Cam Newton's going to be just fine. He's going to be just fine. He's got a question here. Thoughts on Tyrod Taylor's situation? Listen, I've been screaming to the heavens since the before the NFL draft. Justin Herbert is the guy. He's been the guy since day one.
Did you hear what happened to Tyrod Taylor?
He's better than me.
Did you hear the thing that came out today?
What?
About Tyrod Taylor.
Oh, yeah, that the doctors punctured his lung?
The doctor punctured his lung?
Straight sabotage. That came from the owner. That came from the organization. Listen, Tyrod
They
Taylor.
puncture his lung on purpose.
He's like, listen, just make sure you weasel it a little bit. Just go a little deeper because we want this kid to start. We really want this kid to start. And how good did he look? How good did he look?
He looks great. He looks great, man. He had a great game.
I think he had a passer rating of like 97 and a half, a QBR of like 70 something. The kid was great. He was great, man. And
yeah, he looks good.
The organization, everybody knew it. Everybody knew that that Tyrod Taylor was just a transitional quarterback.
Sure.
They knew that. It was a matter of time. I thought it would be like week 5 or week 6 they would have turned to Herbert. But hey, we got it in week 2. That's fine for me. That is fine for me because the kid is talented. I told you, Mike, that's my rookie of the year right there. Justin Herbert. Not Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert.
That was your guy. That's been your guy from the beginning. You've always had this thing for Justin Herbert. But listen, I give the kid credit. He looked really good against Kansas City. He was inches from winning that game. The fact that he was able to complete 2/3 of his throws is fantastic in his first game against, to be honest, the Kansas City defense that is not amazing, but has certainly improved over the past couple of seasons.
Absolutely. They're not terrible.
Throwing for over 300 yards. He only threw 1 interception, which is really great. That Chargers offensive line is not amazing.
No.
It's pretty good on the interior, but they've got pretty weak tackles.
Yeah, they're not too good with pass pro. They're very good at inside schemes, but in regards to pass protection, it's not too great.
And it's the exact opposite on defense. They can get after the passer on defense, but they can't stop the run. That's the crazy part about them.
That defense is pretty good, man. They're not
pretty good. You're right. It is coming around. And listen, this person right here is right. The run game did help him against Kansas City a little bit. Austin Eckler can really play, but this is one of the things about Justin Herbert that I always liked is that I've always thought he's had a really great head on his shoulders. Justin Herbert could have came out last year,
100%.
Right? He was going to be the #1 quarterback in the draft last year. He could have been a New York Giant by now or something, right? And he could have come out last year. He could have made a ton of money, and that would have been great. He was clearly, depending on what you thought of Kyler Murray, right? Like he was clearly what he was. He was going to be clearly the #1 quarterback in the draft, and he said no. He's like, I want to stay in college, and the reason he wanted to stay in college was because he wanted to, as unrealistic as I thought it was, he wanted to try and win another a national championship at Oregon. Right. And I'm like that to me just shows you like how selfless this guy is.
Yeah.
Right. He's not selfish. He's selfless. He is such a team guy. Great locker room. It shows that he's going to be a really good leader. And again, the talent speaks for itself, right? He's 6'6". He's huge as a quarterback.
Right.
He's got a big arm, pretty accurate. He's very mobile for his size, right? I mean, he's good athlete. I think Justin Herbert's the real deal. I have always thought that. You and I both. I have always thought that Justin Herbert was a guy.
I've been waving that flag for years now. Herbert's the guy. He looks like a quarterback. He talks like a quarterback. His composure. And listen, we have 2 rookies this year that don't look like rookies. Now, granted, it's early on, but I don't see the fear of the NFL game being a little too fast for them right now. Like they look like they're handling themselves like professionals. Like veterans. I like what I'm seeing out of Herbert and Burrow. We are in the midst of a good quarterback class. This one is good. Next year's class is going to be amazing as well. So, I can't wait for the next 5 to 10 years to see exactly what these 2 classes, have in store for us, man.
I agree. I am completely with you on that. And like I said, Justin Herbert was my #2 quarterback, only behind Joe Burrow. Yeah. And they both, to me, I've been very impressed. And I understand that Joe Burrow's 0-2, and Justin Herbert again, he's lost his first game. But again, at this stage of their careers, to me, it's not about wins.
Wins
It's about
wins don't matter. Yeah, wins don't matter.
It's about what are you showing me?
Right.
Are you showing me signs of potential greatness?
Absolutely.
Right? Not even just greatness, but are you showing me signs of a reliable future?
Right.
And Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, people have been saying this for a while now. Joe Burrow, and honestly, I didn't expect this from Justin Herbert, but he did it too.
Yeah.
They both look incredibly poised.
Yeah.
They don't panic.
Yeah.
It's just that they look like they've been in the NFL for 5 years.
Yeah.
They look in control of the game. Yeah. And these are 22-year-old kids, right? 22, 23-year-old kids.
Right.
They look in control, and that's a big, big, big thing.
We got a question from our boy Clutch Sports Talk. He said, "What are your thoughts about Sam Darnold?" Listen, here's my thoughts on Sam Darnold. I still love the kid. I think that Sam Darnold is talented. It's not Sam Darnold that's the problem. It's the New York Jets organization. That's the issue. It's not that if Sam Darnold was on another team with another offensive coordinator, with a quarterback's coach that knew what the hell they were doing, this kid would show you the moxie that he has. But the fact that you have a team, an organization that is lost, this kid is lost. And granted, he didn't even look that bad against the 49ers. He didn't look that bad. He threw the ball fairly well. Obviously, it couldn't get downfield because they don't have any deep threats. They can't push the ball downfield, so it's all dink and dump stuff. But he took some big hits. He stayed in the pocket. He got up. He's a tough kid, man. It's just he's in a unfortunate situation. And I tell you this right now, if Dak Prescott continues his nonsense, let's trade for Sam Darnold. I'll take him. I'll take him in Dallas.
Me too. I would take him.
Listen, turn him into a star.
Well, I think the people that think that Sam Darnold is the problem are not paying attention. I don't think they're paying attention because Sam Darnold last year, and this matters. Okay, I don't want people to think that this doesn't matter. The Jets roster last year was not great. And they were hurt a lot. They had a lot of injuries last year. And when Sam Darnold was healthy, right? Because Sam Darnold got mono. Right. But when the 13 games that Sam Darnold started, they were 7-6.
He was excellent.
They went 7-6.
Yeah.
So when Sam Darnold plays for this team, the Jets are not awful. And again, I understand that in the first 2 games this year, they don't look well. They don't look good. I get that. But one of the things that you can take away from what Sam Darnold is doing is through the first 2 games, it looks like he is making less mistakes than he was in the first 2.
I agree.
Because one of the things that one of his biggest thing was that he was very turnover prone. Yeah. He was turnover prone in college. That's what Sam Darnold was. He had a little bit of Jameis Winston in him. But I'll say this too. If you look around the league, I don't think that any quarterback in the entire league right now has a worse receiving core than Sam Darnold. The New York Jets don't have I'll say this, and this is, I guess I should include that Jamison Crowder is not an awful receiver. He's not an awful receiver, but he's nothing but a possession guy.
Correct.
Right? He's a dink and dunk, security. That's why he looks great, because he never goes deep downfield. He's always 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, and he's always the security blanket. So he'll have 10 catches and 55 yards, and that's what Jamison Crowder is. He's not a game-changing receiver. Le'Veon Bell in the backfield is not nearly the same player he was in Pittsburgh. Not nearly the same. The offensive play calling is not amazing. The offensive line is young and developing, right? I actually like Mekhi Becton, but it's not there. And again, Joe Douglas has dumped a lot of money into that offensive line. I mean, they gave George Fant $30 million. Right. You know what I mean? Like they gave. They're dumping money all over that offensive line because they're just trying to protect them. They're trying to keep them healthy. Right. We'll address wide receiver at some point. We want to keep him upright.
That's my thing. It's like, okay, you address the offensive line. Great, Joe Douglas. But the kid has no weapons. What do you expect the kid to do? Like, sometimes it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if your thoughts about this. It would seem as if Adam Gase And I guess you can put Joe Douglas in there. Looks like they're sabotaging Sam Darnold for Trevor Lawrence. Call me crazy.
I don't know
that way. That why would you not give this kid the weapons that he needs? He's in year 3. Listen, we are almost coming up to contract time for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Like, they have if they want Trevor Lawrence, they can get Trevor Lawrence, whatever. And
Yeah.
I think if the Jets do get the number 1 pick, they are going to take him. It's not that's not going to be a question. But if they are doing that and they plan on taking Trevor Lawrence, that means Trevor Lawrence is going in it with no weapons
the same
either.
issues. He'll have the same issues.
Exactly. Like, it doesn't. To me, I think Sam Darnold is plenty talented.
Yeah.
Okay? I think Trevor Lawrence is. I think if Trevor Lawrence walked into the NFL today, he'd be a top 12 or 13 quarterback today. I think he's that special.
We got a question from my man Clutch Sports. He said, "Is Gase the head coach by Thanksgiving?" Yeah. I don't see the Jets firing Adam Gase. Like, I want it to happen. Every week I had the Adam Gase watch, right? But I don't see them doing it because this organization is awful. They're awful. They don't know how you go from what's the head coach that they had before? They had
Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles. You go from Todd Bowles to Adam Gase, a guy that you saw multiple times a year for the last how many years? So you've seen him up close. You know exactly what he's been doing in Miami.
In Miami.
There's nothing that can shock you about him. And he said, that's the guy we want. Look. Tannehill is not a great quarterback. Tannehill is a game manager. He's a serviceable quarterback, right?
He's okay. Yeah, he's okay.
But what happened to him in Miami? He was unplayable at the end of his Miami tenure. Unplayable. He was terrible. He goes to Tennessee and he gets
got hurt a lot
playoffs.
in Miami too. I'll say this about Tannehill. Tannehill got hurt a lot in Miami too.
He definitely did. He definitely did. But what I'm saying is that I have not seen anything out of Adam Gase to make me say, yeah, this guy's a great mind. He knows exactly. He has the pulse of his team. He knows what he's talking about. He understands. Like, he has a nice game plan. All of those things are no. And all he does is run his mouth. Oh, I'm pissed off about the loss. Yeah, you talk a good game, but you're terrible. You're probably the worst coach in the NFL. I don't know who else you put in Adam Gase in regards to that, but I mean, you have Matt Patricia, you have Adam Gase,
Doug Marrone.
You have who?
Doug Marrone.
Doug Marrone. Okay. But I'm still putting Adam Gase number 1. Still putting Gase 1. Yeah, look, A-Fresh said owner called Gase brilliant.
Listen, I'll say this. I think that I agree with you. I don't think that the Jets will fire Adam Gase mid-season. I don't think they will. He might even be the coach next year. I don't think he'll go anywhere, at least for this year.
Yeah, I think he survives the year.
But I'm going to give you the reason why I think, and I think it's because Sam Darnold gets compared a lot to Baker Mayfield, right? A lot to Baker Mayfield because it was, it was kind of 1 and 2 that draft class, right? It was going to be either Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield who was going to be the first quarterback taken off the board. What we kind of figured on draft day, right? A lot of the positions shifted quite a bit, but a lot of people had Josh Allen and some had Josh Rosen, and you know what I mean? Like the position shifted quite a bit. However, what I am going for here though is I think the Jets are trying to not be the Browns, right? So Baker Mayfield's been in the league for 3 years. He's had 3 head coaches.
Right. They don't want that turnover.
The one thing that the Jets are aiming for is stability, right? When Todd Bowles was there, okay, that's fine. They hire Adam Gase last year, right? In Darnold's second year, they hire Adam Gase. And when Darnold's healthy, they go 7-6. It was not a terrible marriage last year. It wasn't. It really wasn't. 7-6, Darnold and Gase was not awful. But what they don't want to do is what the Browns did, right? Baker's had 3 head coaches in 3 years. If they fire Adam Gase, Sam Darnold will have 3 head coaches in 3 years. They don't want that. So even if it's for a guy that doesn't really deserve the, I guess, the stability within the Jets organization. That's what they're going to aim for, is they're going to aim for stability, right?
Good point.
And if all the fit hits the shan and, you see a couple years down the line that they're not getting anywhere, Darnold isn't progressing and everything like that, then they're probably going to have to move on from both. But I think they're going to die on the hill of, if Gase fails completely, that means we're giving up on Darnold too, because we can't label ourselves as this, we're trying to turn this thing around. And I like Joe Douglas. I actually think that Joe Douglas has made some pretty decent decisions since he's been there. Yeah. But he's definitely better than Mike McCagnon, I'll say that. But
yes,
I think that they'll try to go for the stability route. And no, do I think Adam Gase is a bonehead at certain points? Yes. I don't know if he's the worst coach in the NFL, because I do think that there are points where he has a pretty good offensive mind, but the one thing that Adam Gase doesn't have is he doesn't have likability. He's not a likable guy at all.
No.
He's a very, low tone, hat down, not personable. Like, I find it hard to believe that there are very many players in the Jets locker room that really like him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not even sure Darnold likes him. So it's just, the Jets are kind of stuck at this point.
All right. Turning our attention, Mike, the Saints and the Raiders game, Monday Night Football.
Yes.
How does Drew Brees look to you coming out of week 2?
Listen, I think that I think we got to give Drew Brees a little bit of a break, because and listen, I think that for the overwhelming majority of his career, and he's kind of labeled himself as this, and he's deserved it, right? Drew Brees is the most accurate thrower of the football I've ever seen.
Yes.
Okay, he is just so incredibly accurate with the football, but New Orleans is struggling with the fact that there's no preseason. And that being said, there's a lot of injuries, especially Michael Thomas, right?
Yeah.
Michael Thomas is out, and people are saying, oh, well, Drew Brees needs Michael Thomas. Yeah, I mean, Michael Thomas, the best receiver in football, like at least top 3 receiver in football. Like, I don't think it's a knock on Drew Brees for saying that he needs that receiver. A lot of players would need that receiver. Michael Thomas is an absolute playmaker. So I think that people got to give it a little they got to take it a little easy on Drew Brees. Am I a little worried? Yeah, because he does look older. But even last year, he wasn't throwing the ball downfield. He's not that kind of guy, but he was completing at such a high percentage, and his offense was so potent. I still consider Drew Brees an elite quarterback. Yeah. It's just, without his number 1 receiver, that offense is relatively one-dimensional, because it's very short, intermediate routes, and a lot of Alvin Kamara, and that's about it. That's their offense. Definitely. They got a great O-line, and outside of Michael Thomas, they're not amazing at wide receiver either. So I give Drew Brees a little bit of slack.
Listen, the Vegas Raiders are for real.
I like Derek Carr. I've liked Derek Carr for a while.
Yeah. Derek Carr, I think, do you remember back in 2000, I think it was 2016 or 2017, he was a borderline MVP that year, and then he broke the ankle at the, towards the end of the year, and it kind of kiboshed the season for the Raiders. But that he's starting to look like that guy again. Like, I see the confidence, I see the moxie in him, I see the ability to throw the ball downfield, and everybody's been talking up that, John Gruden is not a Derek Carr fan. I don't believe that. I don't believe it either. I never did. I just think that John Gruden is very hard on quarterbacks. So he needs them to be perfect, because he criticizes the quarterback position more than any other position in football. That is his expertise, to be able to say, you need to be this type of quarterback. You got to be this type of guy. And if if Derek Carr is not meeting those expectations, he's going to hear from his head coach. Now, quietly, he had a very good season last year. Very good season last year, quietly. Now he's only going to pick, he has some better weapons. Josh Jacobs is the truth. He's a beast. This team is for real, man. I like the way they look, man. I like their attitude. I like the fact that they have some toughness, that they actually are, a reflection of their head coach, and I like that. I like John Gruden. I like the Raiders. I really do.
Yeah, they have the one word that I would use to describe them is energy. Right?
Yeah.
They have a really good culture, energy with them. I never thought that John Gruden was a bad coach because one of the things that John Gruden is so good at, he was so good at it in Tampa too when he was there and when he won the Super Bowl, is X's and O's, whatever.
Yeah.
He's great at instilling culture. Right?
Absolutely.
At instilling, like, people listen to John Gruden. He gets you fired up and ready to play. That's what John Gruden does. Okay, that's his role as a coach. He's got the big, vibrant personality. And no, I don't think anybody in the world hates John Gruden. He's
no.
Awesome,
how can you? How can you?
That's what I mean.
You can't hate
But
him.
Derek Carr, like you said, quietly, because you don't hear that much about him.
Yeah.
Derek Carr last year completed 70% of his throws.
Yep.
He completed 70, and he played 16 games. It wasn't like he wasn't throwing a ball. He played 70. He completed 70% of his throws, 28 touchdowns and 8 picks.
Yeah,
that's a good season. Yeah. That is a good season. This year so far, he's completing 73.5% of his throws in 2 games. Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. Like, they've got weapons. They still have a good old line, right? Darren Waller's a beast. Like, they've got weapons. They have a running game. They got an offensive line. Their defense is still kind of developing. I don't think it's all the way there yet, but they've got some nice pass rushers. Young Cleveland Farrell and Max Crosby. They're really good young pass rushers. They got a developing secondary. I mean, listen, there's a different vibe with the Raiders this year, and it's exciting. It's exciting. I like them.
I agree. All right, let's turn our attention to them Dallas Cowboys. They win this game 40-39. Mike, your thoughts?
I am impressed that they won that game. I'm surprised that they won that game. However, I'm not going to overreact. I think
no, you can't. You can't.
No, I really can't. Okay. People are going to say, "Oh, well, Dak Prescott did the 34-47, 450 yards and a touchdown and all of those things." Yes, I am aware that Dak Prescott had great numbers. He had great numbers in that game. I don't like being down 20-0. I mean, I don't know about you. I don't like being down 20-0.
Hasn't that been the culture the last year? Is that every game the Cowboys seem to have a deficit of 10 or more points, and they always have to work themselves back. That was our entire identity last season. I had a conversation with Clutch Sports Talk on his IG Live on Sunday, and I asked the question. I said, when are we going to start putting the blame on Dak Prescott for the team not being prepared to play when they start? Why do they always look so sluggish? We always want to talk about the head coach. Oh, the head coach doesn't have them prepared. The head coach doesn't have them prepared. This is our second head coach now. We no longer have Jason Garrett. Mike McCarthy's here now. So why are we still having the same problem?
Right. I've said that for the past couple of weeks too, is that, they've changed everything. Excuse me.
Yeah.
They've changed everything around Dak.
Yep.
Right? They built a great offensive line. And that offensive line is hurt right now. I understand that. But they have great offensive line. Ezekiel Elliott's a top 2 running back in the league. They have, in my eyes, the best group of wide receivers in the entire NFL.
Yes,
right?
bar none.
Mike McCarthy, regardless of what you think of him, okay, the one thing that Mike McCarthy isn't is a bad coach.
Yes.
Right? Mike McCarthy might not be, and I said this to you last week, I think. He might not be a great coach,
but he's not a bad
definitely
coach.
Isn't a bad coach.
No.
Okay, Mike McCarthy is a good football coach.
He's a Super Bowl winning coach.
Right. He's a good football coach. Period.
Yep.
That coaching staff in Dallas is
very
excellent.
Good.
Right? Yeah. John Fossil, Mike Nolan. I mean, guys, those are veterans in the NFL. Yeah. Guys who have been in the league for years. We have there's no babies on this coaching staff, right? Kellen Moore is the only guy that they kept around. But this is why I'm going out, and I've like I said, I've held to my opinion, right? People are saying, a lot of Cowboy fans, and I guess I serve as a Cowboy fan, but I'm not one of these guys. Is that like, oh, these Dak haters, like, what are they going to say now? I'm going to say, well, we shouldn't have needed to come back. Get lucky that the Falcons didn't know the rule on the onside kick, right? They didn't know they could have touched the Cowboys should not have won that game. If the Falcons had a better coaching staff, we lose that game.
Right.
Period. Dak shouldn't have even been in a position to be able to win that game.
Correct.
Period. So am I glad we won? Am I surprised? Am I impressed that we won? Yeah, because I never thought in a million years that we would have won that game. I wouldn't have. However, I need Dak Prescott, and I said this to you on Sunday, right? I said this to you on Sunday when the game happened. I don't want Dak to be great. I don't want the only time for Dak to be great in the last 7 minutes of the game. I need Dak to, if I'm paying him God knows how many millions of dollars, right? If I'm sacrificing half of my team so I can pay my quarterback, I need him to be consistent and great and have a potent offense for 4 quarters. I can't have him constantly coming from behind and then having his stats look great because they all come in against prevent defense in the fourth quarter. I just I'm not
teams are taking their foot off the gas. Of course, they're not gonna allow you to beat them over the top, but you're gonna get everything inside. They're gonna give up those big chunk yards because as long as they're not giving up touchdowns, you're gonna accumulate a lot of junk yards. And that's exactly what that's why he passed for 5,000 yards last year. Did he have a great season statistically? Absolutely. But a lot of those yards were empty calorie yards. Empty calorie yards. And we're seeing that the first 2 weeks of the season. It's the same thing. But the one thing that I will say, and I said this on my show on Monday, DeMarcus Lawrence is a problem. They have $100 million issue on their defensive line.
He doesn't put pressure.
What are they going to do?
He doesn't get any pressure.
Any pressure at all. They have huge concerns on that defense to me. And for the life of me, I'm hearing reports that Mike McCarthy, he doesn't want, Earl Thomas in the locker room because of what happened. It's like, listen, you want to win football games or do you care about, because you're the head coach. You're supposed to be the guy that can be able to bring guys together and create a culture.
Well, here's the thing about Earl Thomas that I think is, and there's one more thing I do want to bring up. But the one thing about Earl Thomas, and I would listen, I wouldn't hate if they signed him either. They could definitely use a player like Earl Thomas. I'm not saying that. But the thing that does worry me about him is that it isn't like the Cowboys aren't signing him. Nobody's signing him. Nobody in the league is interested in Earl Thomas at all. So that to me is a little worrisome, which means what he was showing you in Baltimore was, or what other teams were seeing in Baltimore was this guy's just not a guy that we want in our building. We just don't want it.
Can we play devil's advocate with that though, Mike? Can we actually say that maybe Earl Thomas didn't want to be involved? Maybe he was trying to pull a power move to get to Dallas. He's always wanted to play for the Cowboys.
Yeah, but to purposely fight a teammate,
Texas, he's a Texas guy. Maybe he wants to be a Dallas Cowboy. Who the hell knows?
I think that's wishful thinking. I think that's really optimistic. But here's the other thing I do want to bring up too. However, despite the fact that the Cowboys won that game by 1 and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Game aside, my biggest takeaway from that Cowboy-Falcon game is that Trayvon Diggs was matched up on Julio Jones all day, and Julio Jones had nothing.
Trayvon's not bad.
2 catches for 24 yards, and Trayvon Diggs was matched up on him all that because you saw it. Chidobe Awuzie was matched up on Calvin Ridley. So it wasn't Cheeto that was on him. Okay, Trayvon Diggs was on Julio Jones all day and pretty much shut him out.
Now, granted, I mean, Julio's a little banged up, but, I like the kid. I like Trayvon Diggs, man. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player. And he's a ball hawk. The guys that they got are ball hawks. All their rookies, man. I'm excited for this crop of rookies that Dallas has. I am just concerned that we're having the same issues on that defensive line, that we're just not getting enough pressure. Doesn't matter if we sign Everson Griffin. Doesn't matter if we, Alden Smith. Alden Smith looked good in week 1, but then week 2 he was non-existent. It's just we need a consistent pass rush. We need to make sure that we're putting pressure on those quarterbacks week to week. That's how we're going to win games, because our secondary, it's not terrible, but it's not the best.
You have a problem if they can't put pressure next week, because they play Seattle next week, and the Seahawks offensive line is among the worst in the league. It's terrible. It's terrible. If they can't get pressure next week, that's a problem.
Yeah. So, turning our attention to last night. Mike, I didn't watch the game. I fell asleep. So you're going to have to tell me what the hell happened in the Lakers-Denver Nuggets game, game 3.
The Lakers couldn't hit threes. They couldn't hit a three. That was their big thing. They shot 23% from 3. Alex Caruso was 1 for 7 on the day. Markieff Morris had a tough night. Danny Green had a tough night from 3. KCP had a tough night from 3. Rondo was 4 for 10. It's just, they weren't getting efficient.
Right, I want to see the box score. Keep going.
Yeah, but they weren't. It just wasn't an efficient day for the Lakers. It really wasn't. LeBron, I thought, was excellent, but LeBron had to turn it on late. It was one of those games, and you and I have discussed this, plenty of times. But LeBron does this thing where he tries to get everybody else involved early. Yeah. And when the Lakers are not hitting shots early, sometimes he can carry that on a little bit too long. You dig yourself into a crater, and it's just too much to build yourself back up, right? The Nuggets are not a bad basketball team. So, Jamal Murray and Jokic are not just going to let you walk back into a game. They're just not going to let you do it. So there's 2 ways that the Lakers can win. LeBron does a lot of scoring early, and he takes over completely, right? That usually wins the Lakers games. When LeBron is really aggressive, that wins the Lakers games. However, on the other side of that, the other way the Lakers can win games is if the guys surrounding LeBron hit shots and LeBron doesn't need to be a scorer first. Yeah. Okay, that's the other way. The one way that the Lakers don't win games is if LeBron is trying to get everybody involved, they're not hitting shots, and he waits too long to take over. Yeah. That's what happened last night. LeBron had finished with a triple-double. He had a great game last night. But everybody else around him, Anthony Davis was not terrible either, but he only had 2 boards for some god-awful reason.
That's what I wanted to say to you. 3 bigs, Anthony Davis, JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard. They total 4 rebounds. How?
LeBron can't lead your team in rebounds.
No.
With that many bigs on your team, LeBron can't lead your team in rebounds.
This has always been my issue with Anthony Davis. We've had these conversations, how I feel about Anthony Davis. We feel that he's the most talented basketball player in the league. He's not the best, but the most talented player in the league because he can do everything. And I don't understand how you can have a game like that in game 2 and come out like this and have 2 rebounds. He needs to be tougher than that. Like, we can't, 27 points is great, but 2 rebounds, that means that you're showing me as a big man that you don't want to get physical, that you're not interested in getting downstairs and doing the dirty work for your team to get second chance possessions and to control the game. The Lakers got out-rebounded by like 12 yesterday. The Lakers to the Denver Nuggets. It should never happen. It should never.
The Nuggets are not that big inside.
They're not a big team inside. Other than Jokic, they don't have size. And the fact that they got out-rebounded like this showed me one thing, that the Lakers did not come to play yesterday. They thought that Denver, after losing game 2 in that heart-wrenching way, was going to come out and not have any energy. This is a team that does not care about being down 3-1, about being down 3-0, about being down 20 points in a game. They feel comfortable being the underdogs. So why would you give them a chance to have some confidence? Them winning this game now, they're like, man, this is the #1 seed. We know that we can beat these guys. For the last, call it what? For the last 6 quarters, we've outplayed them. We've outplayed the Lakers. We are better than them. We should be up 2-1. That's how they can be able to kind of say it in their minds. We should be up 2-1 right now.
Yeah,
We're the
right.
#1 seed. So I'm not saying that the Lakers are going to lose this series, but they need to really come out in Game 4 like they came out in Game 1 and Game 2. I'm not talking about the second half of Game 2, but early on in Game 2 when they were really assertive, getting in the passing lanes. They were playing great defense. And the other thing that I want Frank Vogel to do, I hope he was. I wish he was listening to this. Why, oh why, would you start JaVale McGee when you knew Dwight Howard did such a great job on Nikola Jokic for the first 2 games of this series? Why would you decide not to start Dwight Howard? Dwight Howard is the equalizer in this series. When we played them in the regular season, Dwight Howard was the one that shut down Jokic. So why would you feel that JaVale McGee would be the guy to do that? McGee's he's a great role player. He's an energy guy, but he doesn't have the girth or the strength to bang with Jokic down there, nor does he have the IQ to actually keep him off the offensive, getting into an offensive rhythm. Dwight Howard can do that. We have proof in this series that Dwight Howard has confidence guarding Jokic and can get him out of the rhythm that he feels like that he's normally getting into. That's what we have to do. That's what the Lakers have to do. They have to make sure that Dwight Howard starts Game 4. You have to punch this team in the mouth early, and you have to make sure that you beat them into submission. Because if you're going into the 4th quarter or the 3rd quarter and you start to take your foot off the gas, here comes Denver. Here comes Denver. They hit a couple shots, and now they feel confident. So they really have to be careful, man. This is not a team that you have to take lightly. We have to, the Lakers must learn from the Clippers. The Clippers did the exact same thing. You're up 15, you're up 19, you're up 12. You take your foot off the gas, and here comes Denver. You can't do that. This is a team that is very comfortable being behind.
Yeah, I think last night can be defined as what I would call it. It's a natural letdown.
Yeah.
Right. And I saw a comment a little bit before, and the Lakers I think got comfortable. Right. Yeah. They got a little comfortable. They're up 2-0. They're like, listen, we're rolling in this series now because the first two series, right? They lost Game 1. So
and then they railroaded.
It was a fire underneath their rear end.
Yeah.
And they were just like, all right, we're not losing another game, period. And they didn't. So this series, they get up 2-0. They're just saying, all right, we're good. And I'm not saying that they purposely didn't play hard. I think it's just a subconscious thing where there's a little bit less of a sense of urgency, whether or not they notice it or not.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, like Charles Barkley yesterday after the game was just like, listen, I completely blame LeBron and Anthony Davis because it just felt like the energy wasn't the same. It wasn't the same last night.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
And I don't think I disagree. I would find it hard to put blame on LeBron because he had a triple-double and he played. Right. And honestly, from what I saw, he was very productive, and I thought he wanted to win.
He had a great 4th quarter, but in regards to the entire game, because I rewatched the game, I didn't watch it live, but I had to rewatch certain things just to kind of see what happened. He did not look good. He did not look good for the entirety of the game.
He tried to overpass.
Yeah, I did not. That was his. And I don't like that from him. And even still, they had a bad game, right? But they cut the lead to 3 with a little over 4 minutes to go, Mike. So he came down and he had the matchup that he wanted, and he ended up shooting the 3 and he missed the 3. Then I think they were down 4. Then they were down 103-99. He came down, he drove to the lane, put the ball behind his back, and had a mid-range shot right there in the paint. that normal mid-range shot that he likes to fade away over his left shoulder, and he missed it. It rimmed off. He missed it. So even in a bad game, they were still in striking distance to win after being down 20. So we already know who's the better team in this series. But are they going to show that in Game 4? That's what worries me.
You know what it is to me, Barry, I've kind of thought of this from the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't think, for me, it's not a matter of if the Lakers go to the finals, it's when.
Yeah.
Like is it gonna take 5 games or is it gonna take 6? Like
right.
That's the way that this looks to me. And I like Denver. Okay,
yeah.
This is no disrespect to Denver or anything like that, but
they're young.
I think it was Cowherd. I think Cowherd brought this up, and it kind of mirrors exactly what we all think of when we think of like this Laker team.
Yeah.
Is if you look at Denver's roster, right? You look at Denver's roster with you got Murray and Jokic as their 2 primetime guys, right? Those are their 2 star players.
Yeah.
And then you get a bunch of depth, right? You got Paul Millsap and Jeremy Grant and Gary Harris and Monte Morris and Michael Porter Jr., who played great last night.
Yeah.
Like you have a bunch of these guys. Like you never question the depth or the roster construction of Denver, right? The one thing that they're missing really is like, who's that bona fide superstar that's going to get them over the top? Because we're not convinced that it's Jokic or Murray yet. Right? So, but you never question the depth. I mean, that's a good NBA roster. Clearly, they went to the Western Conference Finals, right?
Yeah.
But you look at the Lakers. Okay, you have LeBron. You know what you're going to get out of LeBron. You got Anthony Davis, who's a top 6 or 7 player in the league.
Right.
And then you got, you got Danny Green and
KCP,
Joe McGee and KCP and
Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard and Kuz and Rondo and guys
don't mention that name. Don't mention that name. Don't ever mention that name to me. Kyle Kuzma's name does not get mentioned in this ever. Okay.
But you know what? Like it's a bunch of misfit guys, right? It's a bunch of guys that kind of nobody wanted. Nobody wanted KCP. Nobody wanted Rondo. Nobody wanted They just weren't anybody that anybody wanted.
Land of misfit toys is what I call them.
But we all like the Lakers in the series.
Yeah.
Right? We all still like the Lakers in the series because we don't want to bet against LeBron. We don't want to bet against LeBron and Anthony Davis. Yeah. So, again, this is just the kind of thing that, I want to bring up too, is that, like, we look at what the Lakers are doing, and, there are certain games where you're just like, God, they don't look like a final. They just don't have it. But then they come out of nowhere, and you're just like, well, I mean, because this is also, I guess, kind of something I want to bring up. The one advantage the Nuggets have is that Jokic and Murray can both be off the floor, and they can hang in a basketball game.
Yes.
If LeBron is off the floor for the Lakers are awful.
Yeah,
they can't score. And that includes when Anthony Davis is on the floor. Because he's not an offensive initiator. He's just not. Right? Anthony Davis can't control the ball. Anthony Davis needs to get fed the ball.
Correct.
Right? Somebody needs to get him the ball so he can do that.
High pick and roll with that, with that mid-range jump shot.
Or just a straight low post. That's it. You know what I mean? Even if it's high pick and roll or if it's, any of that, even if it's in lob situations, he needs to be given the ball.
I agree. Okay, we have tonight. Game 4?
4. Yeah.
Game 4 between the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics. Listen, I bet on the Heat to win that game. Game 3, I lost it. I had to pay all my friends money. Didn't like it. What do you got? What do you have going on tonight? Who wins Game 4?
I'm going to take the Boston Celtics tonight.
Boston.
Give me the Boston Celtics tonight.
Boston Celtics
I think they're going to even it up.
The series tonight.
I think they're going to even it up at 2-2. Listen, I've said it from the beginning, and you know this.
Yeah.
The Boston Celtics, to me, are the best team in the East. They have been since the beginning of the bubble, right? Yeah. Honestly, since before the bubble, in my opinion, the Celtics have been the most well-built, most prepared team to go to the finals. They just have been.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that kills the Celtics is inexperience, right? Kemba Walker's a veteran. He's been in the league for a long time, but he's never been on a winning team. So, So it's the same sort of inexperience. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart. It's just inexperienced guys that have been in this stage and out of this stage and all of that
Well,
stuff.
Can you really say that they're inexperienced though? This is their what, third
Marcus
Eastern
Smart
Conference final?
probably no, but Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, yeah,
But this is their third Eastern Conference final together. I think as a team or second. This is their second Eastern Conference final together.
I think it's their second. I don't know. But again, but in the roles that they play, right?
Yeah.
Like Jason Tatum's never been a star before this. You know what I mean? Like they've always had, like the Celtics have always had kind of reinforced veteran leaders, right? When Al Horford was there, like Al Horford was the leader of that team, and when Kyrie Irving was there, and all of that, like they've had different pieces to kind of reinforce that.
Yeah.
Now it's time for these young guys to step up and be that leader. You know what I mean? Like I said, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, guys like Daniel Tice.
Right.
You know, like the one thing that kills me about the Celtics, and this is really where they've fallen behind in this series, and this is exactly what I thought would hold them back, is they can't rebound. This is not a team that can rebound. They've had this issue for 5 years, and they haven't been able to fix it. Bam Adebayo is destroying them on the glass.
Oh, yeah.
Even guys like Kelly Olynyk and Myers Leonard, who are, again, they're bigs, but it's not like they're devastatingly intimidating bigs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're out rebounding the Celtics at a pretty alarming rate. So it's just, I like the Celtics tonight because I think they rebound. I think they're the better basketball team. I think that the Celtics are going to catch on eventually in the series on how to efficiently defend the Heat, because I don't think the Heat are overly explosive. I think the Heat are they're a good finesse team that have a lot of guys that do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I think once Brad Stevens and the Celtics figure that out, because they're so good defensively, I think once they figure that out, they're going to be able to push forward with this. I think the Heat are just going to, I guess no pun intended, but they're going to cool off a little bit. They're going to cool out a little bit, fizzle out. I like the Celtics tonight. I actually like the Celtics to win the series, but I'm going to take the Celtics tonight also.
Here's my prediction, Mike, and don't debate me. He win the game. 120-97. They blow out the Celtics tonight. They go up 3-1, and they head to the NBA Finals in 6. Heat in 6. Right now. Heat in 6. They go on to play the Lakers, and we have one of the greatest storylines ever. LeBron James goes against Pat Riley. He's now on the Lakers. Pat Riley built this Laker team. He built the Showtime Lakers in the 80s. It's a great matchup. Great matchup. That's what I got. Heat in 6.
All right, you said don't debate you, so I won't debate you.
Don't say anything. No, just let it
Let me ask you a question, though.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question, though. Let's say we do get that, right? Let's say we do get Lakers Heat in the finals. That would be a devastating blow to LeBron's legacy if he loses that finals. Right?
You think so?
Yeah. Listen.
I mean, so what?
I love LeBron more. I love LeBron more than anybody. I really do. But the argument for LeBron being the GOAT gets a lot harder if he loses this finals. It really does. It really does.
I mean, but listen.
The Celtics and the Heat have no business beating him.
Whether it's the Heat or the Celtics, I don't see either of those teams beating the Lakers. I just don't.
I don't either. But
I don't see
if they do, by some miracle,
I'm
just saying,
Yeah, he'll be what, 3-7 in the finals? I mean, listen.
He'll be 3-7 in the finals. He'll have lost 2 finals to teams that he shouldn't have lost to.
Well, listen, that Dallas Mavericks team, I think, if you're talking about historical teams, they probably get the least amount of respect than any champion that I've seen in the NBA. That team, we have to remember, the Los Angeles Lakers were coming off back-to-back championships. They were going for a three-peat. They played the Dallas Mavericks, and they destroyed the Lakers. Destroyed them. There was no – I think that the Dallas Mavericks did not struggle in any series in that playoff. They were a great functional unit.
Sure.
And just because they didn't have a bona fide megastar, Dirk Nowitzki he was never looked at as a megastar. He was always a great player, but he was never looked at as a megastar. I think that's the reason why a lot of people kind of poo-poo or, put down their championship run. But that when you look at that NBA Finals again, if you rewatch it, their defensive schemes against the Miami Heat were excellent. Excellent. They knew exactly what LeBron James's weaknesses were at that point of his career, and they hammered it home. They made sure that they stuck to their guns, and they limited the Miami Heat to what they wanted to do. Fast break points, lobs, exciting plays. They kept that series to a crawl, and they knew exactly how to limit LeBron James. So when I look at that, a lot of people say, "Oh, LeBron James, he choked in the 2011 NBA Finals." Did he really choke, or are we not giving Dallas enough credit for that NBA Final?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I do think LeBron should have won that Finals, but I think there were a lot of people because that was the first year of the Big Three, right? That was the first year, of LeBron, Wade, and Bosh.
Yes.
And people were saying they're going to win 80 games.
Right.
This team's never going to lose and all that stuff. And
through 20 games,
it wasn't a realistic possibility.
They were terrible.
You're saying he choked. Yeah, he's always up in here. Let me guess. Jason Terry. Terry. Is that what he's going to say? Jason Terry.
Yeah.
Be quiet from what I saw yesterday or last week.
Listen. This guy right here is a bona fide LeBron hater, and let me give you his track record. He loved LeBron before 2010. When LeBron James
are you one of those guys that banged on LeBron when he went to Miami?
That's when he turned on LeBron James. That's what happened.
Self-proclaimed king.
It's been a decade. It's been a decade of crying. It's been a decade of bashing LeBron. It's been a decade of pain. I understand. Listen, it's hard being a Knicks fan. When you have Kevin Durant say to you, "I'm coming to New York, but I'm going to Brooklyn."
He thinks hurts. How did LeBron ruin the NBA? How did LeBron ruin the NBA?
He's saying that LeBron brought.
Is he one of those people that said, he invented super team? Okay, so the Boston Celtics before that were not a super team with Ray Allen and Paul Pierce and KG. They weren't a super team with Rondo and those guys. Yeah, they were a super team.
Three Hall of Famers.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
That's fine.
Yeah, Kobe would never create a super team. I mean, he only got Steve Nash and Dwight Howard to join him and Pau Gasol. But we'll just ignore that.
You know what's funny about that, Mike? Is the fact that I think the Boston Celtics won like 35 games the season prior to that, and then they ended up winning 66 games with that good. Like, it's a basic team, not a super team, not a super team at all. No, it's fine.
KG was the best player on the team. What are you talking about?
He won defensive player of the year that year.
14 All-Star games.
He won defensive player of the year that year. Defensive player of the year.
Wade, Braun, and Bosh were in their prime. No, they weren't.
No,
Wade was past his prime. Wade was past his prime, so was Bosh. They were both past their prime.
Right.
Or at least in the late stages of their prime.
Right.
You did not get the best of D Wade and Bosh when they were in Miami together.
No, and that's why LeBron decided to leave.
What?
he thought Dwayne Wade was done, so he had to leave. Plus, him and Pat Riley didn't get along. I'm telling you, I need to see that series, Mike. I need to see Lakers Heat because if LeBron goes against the Heat, do you know the motivation that he will have to destroy that team in the NBA Finals? The storylines are gonna write itself. Like it's gonna be beautiful, man. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Great. Oh yeah,
absolutely beautiful.
Hey, Fresh, calm down, man. We're good.
Yeah, listen. You see, we got him started now. Now he's not gonna stop. It's a maniac. How about we talk about the Knicks? How about that? How about we talk about the Knicks?
Yeah, how's Kevin Knox?
How's Frank Ntilikina?
Yeah. Boy, did I whiff on him, man.
Oh, listen, and let's talk about that. You scouted that kid, didn't you? You said that he was going to be a good point guard. I can't trust him.
Listen, his offensive game never developed. He's a great defensive player.
I can't trust you when it comes to scouting, okay? So
Why
we're
not? Why can't you trust me?
We're not going to
I'm a
talk
good
about this NBA
scout.
draft. We're not going to talk about this NBA draft because maybe you're going to say that Obi Toppin is going to be the next LeBron James. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
I would never say that. That's
You
ridiculous.
said Frank
Now,
Ntilikina was
LaMelo
good.
Ball, on the other hand, let's just.
Oh God, LaMelo Ball. Jesus, the kid that shoots with two hands. Give me a break. Give me a break.
He looks like Joakim Noah. Come on. Joakim Noah had a solid career.
Yes. Yes.
Listen, if LaMelo Ball turns out to be Joakim Noah, I don't want to hear flap.
As a number one pick, that's awful. That's awful.
I can spend all the time I want
5
talking
seconds.
about Onyeka Okongwu, baby.
We got 5 seconds. I'll see you next week.